Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studio in Atlanta, Georgia. It's time for Atlanta Business Radio. Brought to you by Kennesaw State University's Executive MBA program, the accelerated degree program for working professionals looking to advance their career and enhance their leadership skills. And now, here's your host.
Lee Kantor here, another episode of Atlanta Business Radio, and this is going to be a good one. But before we get started, it's important to recognize our sponsor, KSU's Executive MBA program. Without them, we couldn't be sharing these important stories. Today on the show, we have John Shuman, who is the president and CEO of Shuman Farms. Welcome.
Thank you, Lee. It's good to be here.
Well, I'm excited to learn what you're up to. Tell us a little bit about Shuman Farms. How you serving folks?
Yeah, Shuman Farms is a grower, packer, and shipper of sweet onions year-round. We're primarily based out of Vidalia, Georgia, the Reedsville, Georgia area. We're in the Vidalia sweet onion business, and we grow and pack and ship Vidalia onions in the spring and summer. And then over the years, our business evolved as we served our customers and our grocery store partners, our retail partners. We expanded then to South America and to Peru, and we have a very good program down in Peru where we grow, pack, and import sweet onions out of Peru through the port of Savannah, and we repack in here in our facilities in Southeast Georgia during the fall and winter months to serve our retail partners around North America with sweet onions year-round. So what started out as a Vidalia sweet onion season for us, just a local season here, has kind of expanded. Just the popularity of the Vidalia onion just kept growing and growing and growing, and retailers wanted those things year-round, and we just couldn't do that out of Georgia. So a lot of us, myself included, and our competitors as well, we turned to South America and found Peru about 25 years ago. So now we're in the year-round sweet onion business today.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about the backstory? How did this start, and how long have you been involved with it?
Yeah, I grew up in it. My dad was a grower. He was a farmer, and he also owned Shuman Fertilizer, which was a farm supply dealership in 2 or 3 counties here in Southeast Georgia back in the late 60s, 70s, and 80s, where he provided and served the local community farmers with seed and fertilizer. And so over the years, he got into farming himself. And in the mid-'80s, early to mid-'80s, he started growing Vidalia onions when the Vidalia onion just really was getting started. I mean, it'd been around for 50 years, but nobody knew about it. And I think in the mid to late 80s, it just really took off, and you had Piggly Wiggly and Kroger put the Vidalia onion in their stores, and once they did, it took off like a rocket. So an industry was born, and the Vidalia onion, I guess, as you can say, the rest is history. So yeah, my dad was in it and went through some financial tough times in the 80s and early 90s. And then when I got home from college, I was able to keep things going. So yeah.
So were you always going to take over the farm? Was that something on your roadmap, or was it kind of out of necessity, or was it, so how did that come about?
No, it was always a desire of mine. I just followed my dad around as a kid and just watched what he did, and just his passion for it and his love for it. And just, we were in and around everything to do with farming 24/7. So it was kind of in our blood, so to speak, and, has just become not so much what we do, but who we are. And no, it was something I did want to do. It was a tough transition, though. As I said, Dad was going through some tough financial problems and had to shut the farm down in the early 90s. And that happened to be the same year I came home, and I was able to, he helped me figure out a way to stay in the business, so to speak. And that's what I did. So really started from the ground up, but we never missed a year. So it's kind of built our testimony, but it's been a good experience.
Now, talk about kind of the history of the Vidalia onion. It had always been there, and it was just never kind of like locally, you all knew about the quality and you knew that this was something special, but it never kind of left the borders of that region. And then all of a sudden word got out. Is that kind of what happened?
Yeah. So in the Great Depression back in the 30s, the local farmers were looking for a new cash crop. Things were tough, obviously, and they were looking for a cash crop. And one farmer in particular brought in some sweet onion plants brought in some onion plants and planted them, and to everyone's surprise, they were sweet and mild. And it just was kind of a local thing for about 50 years. And somewhere in the early to mid 80s, just kind of got rediscovered. Before the advent of the interstate system, I-75 and I-95, you had people from the Midwest, the Northeast would come through Southeast Georgia during the spring and summer to go to Florida on vacation. And you could buy these onions at the local farmers market. And the name kind of picked up from that. People started calling them the sweet onions from Vidalia, those sweet onions from Vidalia, because that's where the local farmers market was. And that Highway 1, US 1 ran right through there. So the onion kind of gained popularity. And in the mid to late 80s, the state of Georgia, the state legislature picked it up and put some definitions around the growing region. You can only grow them in 20 counties in Southeast Georgia. And they got the trademark for the Vidalia sweet onion brand name. And so now we are all growing and packing and shipping as an industry, and we're regulated by the Georgia Department of Agriculture. And Tyler Harper, our Commissioner of Agriculture, is over that. So yeah, an industry was born, so to speak, in the 80s and early 90s.
And it was pretty smart to kind of brand it and label it, and then kind of make it a distinct thing, so it just wouldn't be a sweet onion, that kind of generic.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, for people who are not familiar with Vidalia sweet onions, I'll just say the state of Georgia is very blessed to have this onion. It's known throughout the world, and particularly North America, as the world's most famous sweet onion. And I really do think Bobby Flay, I've said this many times, I think Bobby Flay said it best, and it really kind of captures how popular and how much the Vidalia onion has penetrated pop culture. But the celebrity chef Bobby Flay once said, the Vidalia onion is not only the world's most famous onion, is quite possibly the only famous onion. So I think that kind of speaks into the affinity and to just what the Vidalia onion is to consumers.
Now, was that part of the kind of the marketing roadmap for the onions, to partner with chefs like that and to get them in their hands so they can do what they do to make dishes in and around the onion?
I think later on it was. I think early on, just what really propelled the Vidalia onion, there was, you walked into a grocery store in the 70s and early 80s, and there were onions. And the sweet onion, the premium sweet onion, a mild flavored sweet onion, was brand new to the market, so to speak. They'd been around a little bit, but nothing with any intentional marketing behind it as an industry. And so when the Vidalia onion came along, the popularity of them really, the retailers really stepped back and looked at the industry and said, hey, this is something different here. We've got a whole new category in our grocery stores, and we want to merchandise this differently. We want to sell it differently. And by the way, we want to have these things year round. Well, we couldn't do that out of Georgia. And so that's what I mentioned. We turned to Peru to expand our season. But again, when we're down in South America, we're selling sweet onions from Peru. We're not selling Vidalia onions. To be a Vidalia branded sweet onion, it has to be grown in Georgia. So
right. So there's rules around. They made rules around who can call it what, and it's not, you can't just call it Vidalia unless it came from the region, right?
That is correct. Yep. Yeah, it has a trademark, and the state of Georgia regulates. And as growers, we have to license with the state of Georgia in two ways. One, we get a license to grow, pack, and to pack the trademark. And then the next one is the trademark license. So yes, it's highly regulated, and I'm happy that it is. Early on there was some things going on that shouldn't have been, with growing regions around the country trying to play on the Vidalia's popularity. But that's all been taken care of now, and this industry is really maturing. And the industry today is, when I got in this business about 30 years ago, the industry was about 14 or 15,000 acres, and there was probably 300 growers in the industry. And most of them are in Tattnall County, which is Reidsville, where I'm headquartered. And about 60 to 65% of all the Vidalia onions are grown in Tattnall County. And then about 25 or 30% are grown in Toombs County, which is where the city of Vidalia is, where the onion got its name. So when you look at it, it's really a little smaller than it sounds. You've got two counties producing about 85 to 90% of all the Vidalia onions. But today, the industry is around 10,000 acres and about 65 growers. And it's really gone through a lot of consolidation, as most industries have. You see acquisitions and mergers and consolidations, and retailers are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they require their vendors to be at a scale and a scope to service their needs. And so, and you think, well, if you hear, we used to be around 15,000 acres. Today we're at 10. The industry's shrinking. Well, that's not That's not true at all, because over that 30 or 40 years, we've learned how to grow these onions in a better, more efficient way. We've got better genetics, better varieties. And so we are actually producing more tonnage per acre than we did when we were growing 15,000 acres. We're actually harvesting and shipping and producing more sweet onions on 10,000 acres than we ever did on 15,000.
Now, when the sweet onion first came about, whatever, it's what 70. Oh, it's over. Is it 100 years ago? Like how it's probably close to that, right? When it first became known, was it something that all the farmers were like, "Hey, we got something," and they all jumped on it, or were people skeptical? Like, what was kind of the mindset back in the day when it was, kind of new? Because sometimes, the best ideas aren't accepted by the population until they get some traction.
That's very true. I think the Vidalia onion, and, back in the Great Depression and in the 40s and 50s, it was not the Vidalia onion. It was just a sweet onion. And over time, it just became the sweet onion from Vidalia. But, it'd be fun to step back and kind of see what they were thinking and how they responded to this. I'm sure they didn't quite know what to do with it, because back in those days, there wasn't a sweet onion market. There wasn't any demand for sweet onions. It just kind of gained traction organically, if you will, and just kind of spread out. And when Kroger put it in their retail stores and took it national, the Vidalia industry really shot off like a rocket. It took off, and this was the late 80s, early to mid 90s. The industry was in aggressive growth mode, and it was growing leaps and bounds. And by the late 90s, we had hit market saturation. And, every industry goes through these cycles. And so we were no different. It takes a little while to find your equilibrium of supply and demand. And I think we've done a good job of that here in Georgia.
Yeah, it was probably an interesting time when it came about. People tasted it. They knew it was different, but they just didn't know that it was kind of different, special, that this would be something that the world would be clamoring for, a few decades later.
That's very true. Yeah, and I think just the unique attributes of the Vidalia onion, its versatility. You can cut it, you can eat it raw, you can cook it, saute it. It goes in most any dish, and it's right here from the state of Georgia. It's the only place in the world you can get it. And it truly is a unique growing region here. And you say, well, why this 20 counties in southeast Georgia? Well, if you go 1 or 2 hours north around Macon, Georgia, it doesn't work. If you go 1 or 2 hours south around South Georgia, North Florida, it doesn't work. People have tried it. They've been trying for years to grow this onion on the Georgia-Florida border, and it just doesn't work. It gets too hot too early in the spring. So we have a mild winter here in this growing region. We have an early spring. We have a unique soil composition. We're in the coastal plains of southeast Georgia, and so we don't have a lot of red clay. We have a sandy, loamy soil, and our nutrients are able to leach through the root zone by rainfall. And so what that allows us to do, and therein lies the key to why this region is special, is with proper rainfall and irrigation, you can leach all the nutrients through and out of the root zone. And we get to go back as farmers through soil sampling and through our experience with agronomics and put back into the soil the nutrients that we need to produce this premium sweet onion. And one of the key micronutrients is sulfur. And sulfur is critical to cell wall structure of the onion, to quality, to shelf life. But it's also critical to flavor and pungency, which is the heat. If you've ever cut an onion and it made you cry, or if you've ever cut an onion that had a warm flavor to it, that's pungency or pyruvic acid in the onion, which is its natural defense mechanism for that onion to survive. So, but we were able to go back in and put just the right amounts through our learning curve over the years and decades, and really produce a mild, sweet flavored onion. It truly is a unique experience.
Now, you mentioned that the soil is kind of unique, and you're able to produce more onions in a kind of a smaller footprint than you had historically. Is there enough? Is there room for more growing? Is there just the land and the soil available, or are you kind of maxed out at this point?
No, I think there is. I think certainly over the 20 county production area, we do have room to expand the industry. I think what we're bumping into now, like most industries and most products, is we have full distribution throughout North America, to all four corners of the United States and into Canada. And And the popularity of the Vidalia onion has caught the attention of other growing regions in the United States who want to play in that space. I don't think they have the premium product that Georgia does in the Vidalia sweet onion, but nevertheless, there are no national standards on what you can brand as a sweet onion in this country. So we do have some competing growing regions that do play on the local factor. They do play on the carbon footprint, shorter to market type thing. And I don't think they do have the premium product of a Vidalia onion, but I think we do have some headwinds, particularly in California and the Pacific Northwest, where there's some local onions out there during June. That's right in the middle of our season here. So I think some of those competitive factors are the reason why the Vidalia onion is kind of found its rhythm and its equilibrium. But it's during our season, spring and summer, there's not many retailers in North America that don't carry a Vidalia onion on some level. Most of them carry it in full distribution, which means they'll carry the loose bulk jumbos, which you go into the grocery store and you can buy an onion loose. You just pick one onion up off the shelf, and so that they carry the bulk, and then they carry the bags. They'll either carry a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 pound bag. So most retailers do, but it's again, it's just something that we are very blessed to be a part of here in Southeast Georgia, and the fact that we travel all over, and all over North America promoting this onion is most people recognize the brand name, and that's something special.
Right. That's a kind of point of differentiation that no one can take away from you. And and I think you have the mind share that it locks in as this is the super premium product. This is the one you want. Everything else is kind of a version of this.
Yeah, no doubt. It kind of gave the popularity of the Vidalia onion gave birth to a year-round sweet onion category for grocery stores. And that's the history of the Vidalia onion. It's, when it came on the scene, you've heard that if you want to be a market leader, you have to be first, better, or different. And it'd be really good if you were all three. But and the Vidalia onion it was first, better, and different. So
now, as part of Shuman Farms, you're doing some things to keep kind of the top, keep the brand and keep the onion top of mind. Can you talk a little bit about this the Sweetest Ingredient campaign that you guys are working on?
Yeah, so it's been several years in the making. We partner with local restaurants around the state of Georgia during the month of May, which is peak harvest season for the Vidalia onion here in Georgia. And it's just really a fun way to connect to consumers at the restaurant and just bring attention to the Vidalia onion and its seasonality and get it and for chefs to prepare it in new and creative ways and really expand the use and highlight the versatility of the Vidalia sweet onion. So it's been a really good promotion for us, and we're trying to put it in front of consumers who may not be looking for Vidalia onions, who may not have heard about Vidalia onions, and just kind of bring attention to what the Vidalia onion is, connect the consumer to the product and the growing region, and really highlight its seasonality. Yep.
And I'm sure there's no shortage of chefs who want to use that ingredient. I mean, it's kind of a premium ingredient, and they can use their creativity. Is there anything kind of out of the box that you've seen that some of these chefs are doing with the onions?
They are. They've got a lot of twists and turns on them. I've sampled a few of them. I've been to a couple of these restaurants during Restaurant Week in May, and Murphy's up in Virginia Highlands in Atlanta. They did a really good job, had a really good dish with a sauteed Vidalia onion. I've seen other restaurants try the French onion, the Vidalia twist on the French onion soup. And yeah, it's been really, really unique to see how they put their creative culinary expertise into this product.
So now that your business is multi-generations, which is a difficult thing just by itself to achieve, what kind of legacy are you hoping to leave? Is this something that you want to continue in the family? How do you see kind of your future in the business?
Yeah, I am second generation. My two sons, my wife and I have two sons, and they're 24 and 22. My oldest son, Luke, graduated from the University of Georgia about a year and a half ago, and he joined the business as the third generation last year. And my youngest son, Jake, is a senior at Georgia Southern, and he'll be graduating in December this year. And so he plans to join us in January as well. So, we've always been intentional about putting our children in front of the business and getting them involved and just showing them what we do and who we are and what's going on. But as they got older, it's their decision. It's their, we wanted them to take an interest in the business. We're very blessed that they have taken an interest and have a desire to come back and learn. So we are excited about the third generation and, keeping the family business going. There's a lot of headwinds for small family businesses, particularly farms in America. And it's just the tax structure, trying to pass your assets down to your children is a tremendous burden on small family farms. And just, farmland is continuing to get more and more expensive. One of our most important assets of being a farmer is access to good farmland. And as you know, being in and around Atlanta, it's Georgia's growing, and there's competition for land and subdivisions and development, and all these things are good. We all want economic progress, but we need to do it in a smart way to preserve assets like farms. So, as we pass on, as we have a desire to pass on our business to our children and to that third generation, these are kind of some of the headwinds that we're faced with, and how do we navigate the landscape and ensure that we do it in a responsible way. But yeah, and I think just beyond that, just over the years, we, as a business and as our culture and who we are as a people, we wanted to stand for something more than just being in the sweet onion business. So we obviously got involved early on, wanted to connect to the consumers and to the neighborhoods and to the communities that have supported our product over the years. So we started a program over 20 years ago called Healthy Family Project, and it's really, I think, one of our most important sustainability initiatives and as a company and what we do. It's really near and dear to me, but it has two missions. One is to educate children and parents on the benefits of eating a diet full of healthy fruits and vegetables, particularly sweet onions, and kind of putting a sweet onion as the center of the plate ingredient. And the other one is we have a charity of choice, and that is Feeding America Food Banks. We think as farmers and growers in America, we have a desire and we feel like we have a responsibility to give back into food insecurity, and that initiative and Feeding America Food Banks around the country are doing a wonderful job meeting that need with boots on the ground. So we support them as best we can. And over the years, this program has, what started out as a Shuman Farms community outreach program has just developed into a nationwide program. We partner with other grower shippers around the country and with retailers around the country. And we've been very blessed to have, I think, over 50 grower partners around North America. And I don't even know how many retail stores, several thousand retail stores help us promote this campaign every spring and fall. And we have been collectively, all of us going together to support this need, have donated over $8 million to charitable outreach causes in our retailers' markets. And we've also donated more than 22 million meals to Feeding America Food Banks. So that's something that's really important. That's a legacy we want to leave, which I think is more important than growing sweet onions. I want to have a positive impact on these communities and our communities that support our product.
So if somebody wants to learn more about the Shuman Farms, the initiatives you're working on and the Shuman, and to support the Shuman Farm brand, is there a website? Is there a way to connect? Social media? Is there?
Yeah. Well, social media, of course, Shuman Farms. And then we have two brands, Real Sweet and Mr. Bucks. You can go to ShumanFarmsGA.com on the website and see our website, and for recipes and some versatility of the Vidalia, and you can check out realsweet.com. So yeah, there's a couple ways to connect with us.
Well, John, thank you so much for sharing your story today. You're doing such important work, and we appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, Lee. It's been a pleasure.
All right. This is Lee Kantor. We'll see you all next time on Atlanta Business Radio.